talk about the heroic abilities, or the abilities in general that you want to use for Hawkeye, and the important ones. First of all, your probably main ability, your main non-heroic ability, is going to be Split Shot Arrow. With the chest piece perk, it's not going to shoot 3, but 5 at a time. And actually, you want to do this one. You want to shoot it while you're in the air. It's going to do 2 split shots, which is going to be 10 at a time. And you're going to shoot this, activate the intrinsic, shoot this to hover, and I'll demonstrate how to do that. Also, after you use the split shot, there's a Bag of Tricks, which is a heavy combo finisher, which ends in a triple split shot, which is going to be 15 arrows at a time. Pretty cool. And it uses a pulsar arrow and a cluster arrow in the middle. And also another useful ability is the suspension arrow. It's a light combo that goes into a heavy combo finisher. It's very good as an additional way to build up your intrinsic. Also, it creates a little vortex bubble that sucks enemies in. It's useful for the circle phase and the claw, where you want to suck the guys in, build an overcharge. For your ranged abilities, you'll use the razor arrows not really against enemies, but against ranged objective targets that you have to shoot occasionally. And the pulsar arrow is useful. You can set them down and let them explode automatically or manually blow them up. And mostly you're going to use them when enemies aren't present to set them as just bombs that blow up eventually. Your Archer's Instinct is very important to hover, which I'll show how to do that. The Boomerang Arrow, you're going to use this with the intrinsic ability to fly, which is useful. It's not so much to attack enemies. And Overcharge, the lock-on, is super important. While you're locked on, it automatically locks onto enemies, and you can turn that off with a button in your controls. And you definitely want to turn it off if you need to shoot a certain objective. Alright, let's talk about the important abilities, the heroic abilities. Your support heroic ability is the third best one in the game, besides Thor and Kamala's. It's really good. It heals you, creates a big bottle. It also removes status effects. You're going to be running critical care, which gives you a 20% crit chance and crit damage. And I would say go for heroic recharge. It's a chance that enemies will drop heroic orbs while in the bottle. Pretty good. And it says default 10 seconds, but with the 2 perks we're running, it's going to actually last 30 seconds. You're going to have it up 24/7, which is amazing for you and the team. For your main DPS hitter, it's going to be the Night Storm Arrow. You basically shoot a big tornado of fire, and you're going to be using Fire Devil for the worm, because we're going to do gold status on our ults. And I would say take the Fatal Domain, which is a AoE. There's also a duration one, which is cool, but because you can spam these so frequently, I would say just take the Radius. And for your ult, it's very useful. When you pop it, you instantly overcharge. It hunts down enemies, applies shock. It's really awesome. I would say definitely, there's no question you take Twin Talons. It's a must take. It applies shock to enemies, which is very good for battery, and higher crit chance, which means they're going to take more damage, and you're more likely to trigger perks from hitting enemies. I will also say Bird in the Hand. When you kill enemies, there's a chance they drop a heroic orb, which is pretty useful for you and the team. Now let's talk about the mastery abilities. I would say take this one. It's probably the best, although none of these really matter. Sharp Fragments is really good. No question, take it. Split Shot, you're going to use it. 15% damage is good. Heroic Orb takedowns is easily the best for every character. I would say take all the Pulsar ones. These 2 you could also consider, but definitely you want this one. It's part of the heavy combo finisher. None of these are super important, though. I would say take these for the intrinsic ability. It allows you to dodge, apply, and it makes your disruption last longer, which is really powerful, but you almost never use it, to be honest. It doesn't really matter. I would say take Energy Boost. It's okay. It's not a big deal. And then for the intrinsic overcharge abilities, take multi-talented, melee damage, and realistically it's a 10% range attack damage while you're overcharged, which is decent. Heroic Resolve, while you're overcharged, killing enemy has a small chance to drop heroic orbs, which is good for you and the team, as you're going to be overcharged basically 24/7. And I would say take the Overcharge Endurance, no question, must take. You have to take this one. It makes it last longer when you go, guys. Absolutely, this is what you need. Alright, in this part I'm going to demonstrate the different abilities and how to use them. First of all, I'm going to show how to hover and shoot. Normally, if you activate split shot on the ground, it shoots 5 at a time. If you shoot it in the air, it shoots 10 at a time, which is what you want to do. But if you shoot it, activate intrinsic, shoot it, you can just hover indefinitely and shooting twice as many split shots at a time, which is what you want to do. Also, the boomerang arrow, I'll show that. It's basically you just use your light attack and your intrinsic really fast, tap them both, and you can fly here. This is useful for the whatever platform phase. You can just float across it. You can just fly indefinitely. Definitely useful. Alright, and when you activate your heroics, you want to do it in the air. I'll show that. So, we activate our heroics on the ground. It takes a while to charge up. But if we jump up and activate it, much faster. So you want to be activating your heroics while you're in the air, and then just a split shot. That's basically how you play Hawkeye in this consistent. Now, for the puddle, if you activate a puddle within the puddle, it gets weird where it'll only last 10 seconds instead of 20. But if you activate another puddle, let's say outside of this one, it'll last 15 seconds. So, definitely useful. Basically, you just keep spamming the heroics, and you're going to want to fire your split shot occasionally for heroic triggers as well as those free tachyon surges. The activated one within, you can still see it, but it'll only last 10 seconds for the puddle. Alright, let's go over the Hawkeye build guide for the gear. The first piece you need is the melee piece, and what you're going to want is a random piece where you get it, chest and vendors, and absolutely need a rampant assistance, a 210 or a 220 heroic charge rate while you're overcharged, and you're going to want a split shot, ideally a warp one, something like this. And ideally you want it with a gold piece with 3 good stats, which this does not have. This specific piece can be bought from the Utah vendor every week, so easy to get, but obviously intensity resolve, not a good stat pool. And then here are the 3 G's perks. You got extra 10 seconds for your recovery arrow, fire rate for your bow attacks, and 20% fire rate for your razor arrows, which are decent. You also can get one with vibranium split shot, although it would only have might, resilience, and proficiency as the stat pool from either vaults or villain sectors, and the odds of getting it are like 1 in 1,000. Do not waste your time going for it. It's so statistically unlikely to get. Alright, the first melee cheese, the extra 10 seconds, you get it from raids or elite raids. Don't worry about it getting it. If you just run raids and elite raids, you'll get it. Second piece is just a random piece from chests or vendors. You know, if you get it, you get it. And you don't have to try for it. It's just a random piece. And another one, the other third cheese piece is from villain sectors, the melee piece. It doesn't have to be exotic, so it's easy to get. Run a couple weekly villain sectors, you'll get it. Now for the range piece, this piece is the hard piece to get. This specific piece right here is basically perfect. Intensity, Valor, Precision, perfect stats. Pulsar's the best. Yeah, it's hard to get. What you need is targeted spark. You absolutely need it, and you ideally want the one with the Tachyon Surge. How do you get this piece? From the Tachyon Anomaly event, you're going to have to saves come for it, and here's the stat pool. Might, Precision, Valor, Intensity. You want Precision, Valor, Intensity. Valor #1, then Precision, then Intensity. Might is worthless. Personally, I would go for one with Precision and Valor. If you got to get Precision, Valor, Might, Precision, Valor, or Precision, Valor, Intensity, I'd keep it. If not, I'd keep re-rolling, try to get a better piece. And a cool thing about this piece is your ultimate heroic can trigger the targeted spark as well as the Tachyon Surge. And that's very good because it'll just keep itself going, the ultimate. Status doesn't matter much, although Pulsar is the best one. If you don't have a Tachyon piece, the ideal bottom perk would be a lethal targeted buff, which is just an RNG piece you get from chests or vendors, and you absolutely need the targeted spark. And here is the cheese perk. It's not very useful, but I'll show you how to get it. Vault missions, you can also get it from the Red Room event. Not very important. Chest piece. The chest piece you want is just a reactive buff chest piece, which is to RNG gear, chests or vendors, and this is the perfect stat one, Precision Valor Proficiency. My piece is Precision Proficiency Resolve, so it's not quite as good as this piece, but it's close. And you want to, yeah, ideally the triple good stats. This is like the perfect piece. You definitely need the reactive buff. And here are the perks, the cheese perks. This one you absolutely need, the split shot multiplier. It's insanely good. These two, not super important. This one's easy to get. This one's actually really hard to get, so don't go for it if you don't want to. Where do we get them? The important piece from Priority Threat Sectors or the Rushko Protocol event. If you do the Rushko Protocol event, you're guaranteed to get this piece, so you don't really have to try for it. You need the exotic one, though. The next one, you get it from vaults. There's going to be 3 cheese perks you get from vaults, so you might as well run a couple weekly elite vaults. And it's only the perfect evade triggers you perfectly evade. You get a invincibility buff, which is pretty cool. And then this one is absolutely not necessary, but if you want it, it makes your evades a little bit longer. And you'd have to save scum the Mega Hive for it, so hard to get. Or it's a bit of work to get at least. The Heroic 4-piece. This is the perfect 4-piece, Precision, Valor, Resolve. Here's the stat pool. Valor's the best, then Precision, then Resolve. You don't want any Might. And where do you get it? You get it from the Priority Threat Sectors or the Rushko Protocol event. Again, like the chess piece, you're guaranteed to get it from the Rushko Protocol event. If you want, you could save scum to try to get the perfect triple stat on the Protocol event, but it's not that unlikely to get. The bottom perk is the thing that makes this piece super good, so you absolutely need the exotic version. That's heroic and willpower, 300% while overcharged. And here are the cheese perks. Absolutely essential to the build is this one, the Hunter Overcharge. How do we get it? This one from the vault. It's the 3rd cheese perk you get from the vault. So you're going to be running 2 or 3 elite vaults will get you all the cheese perks you need. It doesn't have to be the exotic piece, and the stats don't matter because you're just cheesing the perk. But when you activate your ultimate, it instantly overcharges you, which synergizes insanely well with this operative kit. And then the next piece from Villain Sectors, the second piece, the second cheese perk you get from Villain Sectors, you get an extra Knight's Arm Arrow charge, which is not insane, but it's definitely useful. Alright, stat relics. The relics are very easy to get. This is the relic you want. The Powerful Moon is very useful, and it's perfect Valor, your best stat. Upgrades perfectly, 64, 64, 64. You just buy it from the relic vendor. It's there every week, so check in, buy it. The bottom perk is very useful. You have 2 of them. That's 17% crit chance for power attacks, which means you're more likely to not only hit harder with your power attack, but also you're more likely to trigger your Tachyon Surge or your Target Spark, which is very good. Also, if you have something like this for Hawkeye, a range crit targeted Vibranium payload with good stats, you could run it as well. You get this piece from the raid or the elite raid, I guess from the Vibranium event as well. It's super hard to get this piece, so you don't need it. It's really unlikely to get, but if you did get like a proficiency Valor Resolve like this piece, I'd probably run it. Exotic Relic. It's the same as pretty much everyone else. You want the Go Relic, which is just the Ring of Nebulong with the damage buff and defense buff perks as well. And it does multiply with the Rampant Assistance, so while your overcharged orbs give you 9 times as much as they would by default, which is insanely good. It also makes it faster to overcharge with intrinsic orbs when you activate Cornucopia. The crit chance will be increased by 10% for your damage buff, and it lasts 4 seconds longer, which is very good. And how do we cheese the gear and the exotic relics? Well, I have links in the description how to do that, very thorough. So watch those videos if you want to know exactly how to do it. All right, champion points. Which ones are the best? The 2 crit ones are by far the best. You want to just dump all your points into these as quickly as you can. And then these four are pretty good. It's damage reduction, heroic charge rate, perk chance, and status buildup. All decent. The healing effectiveness is decent as well. Status resistance is not that powerful, but it's something. And then these four are worthless because they're about, if it'll say like 3%, think of it more like 0.3%. The math is just really bad for these. Stat priority. Your best stat is Valor, and that's why you run 2 Valor relics. Ideally, you want it on every piece. And your secondary stats, Resolve, Precision, Proficiency. Your 4-piece is going to be Valor, Precision, Resolve, ideally. And then ideally, if you're running the Tachyon Surge, you're getting Valor, Precision, Intensity. So your only pieces for proficiency will be your chest piece or in your melee piece. And ideally, you'd want 2 pieces of proficiency. It's definitely useful. Precision makes your range attacks, and it also is a secondary stack with your ults, so it makes them hit a little harder as well. Proficiency, the crit chance, and the perk chance is pretty useful. Resolve, you honestly only need 1 piece from your 4-piece, but a second piece of Resolve is not bad. And then here's the mech category, Resilience. It's like half as good as Resolve. Ideally, you don't want any. Might is actually belongs in the trash section. It's not meh, it's trash. And then 1 piece of intensity you probably want. You don't need it, but you probably want it. You don't want 2 or 3. Overall, how does Hawkeye perform? Well, his AO DPS is absolutely top tier, along with Thor. If you're just fighting hordes and hordes of enemies, this is the guy you want to run. His stun damage is insanely good, for example, against Claw, because those heroics just do so much stun, and you can keep spamming them. He batteries opponents, just put the status on them, very useful. You get the 24/7 heal buff for the team, which is the 3rd best support heroic in the game. He creates quite a bit of orbs, which is useful. Also, he's an immortal tank, completely unkillable, which is definitely useful. His downside is he's mediocre at hitting certain range objectives. I mean, you can use your arrow, and it does decent DPS, but it's nothing compared to Iron Man or Black Widow. And he can't fly. Well, he can sort of fly with the hover, but you can't fly and shoot at the same time, really. Overall, he's one of the better heroes. In terms of non-flyers, he's up there, probably second only to Kamala.